Hi guys, it's Sam for Digital Meat, and this is part 4 of setting up a player character with Mecanim in Unity with the aid of Playmaker. Okay, so you know the deal by now, these tutorials are sequential. So in the last tutorial, and let me just hit play on our guy, we got this set up. So we've got our walking set up. When we hold the right trigger down, we run. We also have a field of view that was set up in a previous tutorial, and our crouch. And if you remember the end of the last tutorial, everything's sorted here apart from the fact that we've got our crouch, which seems to be working great. But when you press the right trigger, you go into a sort of high-speed crouched walk. And you can see the animation of his feet doesn't line up with the run. And I don't think, personally, I think if you were in a crouch position like this, you wouldn't be able to move very fast. So this tutorial, I'm going to deal with disabling the right trigger run when we're crouched. So let's just come out of this, take off maximize on play. So the B button crouch, this is actually set up exactly as we need it to be now. And that was in the last tutorial. So what we've got to deal with, this is right trigger run. So let's just dive straight in and to, sort that out. So at the moment, all we're doing in our right trigger run is we're getting our axes and storing the float in we're storing the float of the axis in a float variable called right trigger press. And this is a global variable because the crouch button needs to know when the right trigger press is being... Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm talking absolute shite. It's our character controller that needs to know where the right trigger is being pressed, because it actually adds a value to our walking speed float. So all we got in this is just this get axis. Now we're going to have to make some changes here. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to add a new state, and I'm going to call this state "Am I crouched?" ? That makes sense. And we want this to be the first thing that happens in our state machine. So I'm going to right click on it and say set as start state. And now we've got this listener here. Okay, so am I crouched? Let's just pull this over here. So I think you can guess what I'm going to do in this state. Am I crouched? We need to check if he's crouched or not. So I'm going to add an action, and that action is going to be a bool. Oh, I'm not typing. It's going to be a bool test. Okay, so we can add that, and then I'm going to actually add a couple of states to this. So add a transition, custom event. So I'm going to add yes and no. The reason that I've got these set up is because I've used these before. In fact, if you've been following the tutorials, you should have these in your custom events as well. If not, just create one, add a transition, custom event, or whatever you like. You can add them. That's fine. So this bool variable, what are we testing? Well, we're going to need to test whether he is crouched or not. So I think we're actually going to have to make our crouch variable. So if we go back to B button crouch and go to variables, and we've got this crouched here, we're actually going to have to right click on that and move to global variables. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, so if we check our global variables, it should be in there with a few other things. So we can go back to our right trigger run, go back to the state. The bool variable that we're testing now is the crouched. Globals, crouched. So if it's true, I'm going to send it to yes. and if it's false, no. We don't need to check this every frame. Okay, so I'm going to set up another state now, and we're going to call this, I'm going to call this yes. If I could spell. Yes, I'm crouched. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to type because my microphone's in the way of my keyboard, so it's a little bit first world problems. Okay, and the add transition out of this, I'm just going to put a finished out of that. So I think you can guess what happens here. If we're crouched, yes, I'm going to go to yes, I'm crouched, which is fine. So what do we need to do? Really, this is just a way to send if it's true to somewhere, and then it's pretty much going to come straight back out and back to the beginning again. But we're going to need to do something in here. In the yes, I'm crouched state, we're going to add a bool change. So basically this just checks if the bool value is changed at all. So we're going to check if the bool variable is being changed, and then the changed event, if it detects that the bool has been changed, it's just going to send it to finished, and then it's going to go straight back to this. Okay, so our listener that's got our right trigger stuff on it, we haven't even got to it yet, and this is where the no comes in. So am I crouched? If he says yes, it's just going to go to this and then detect a bool change and then send it back to this, and it's going to do the bool test again. So it's like a little loop, really. But if it's saying no, I'm not crouched, well, it's then going to say, well, you can go to this listener then, where you can actually use the axis for the run button. So I'm just going to, I can rein this in a little bit, that's fine. So we don't actually need to connect this to this. So the no state is saying, yep, go to the listener, and then we can actually use this to run. But what if... Okay, so let's just create a state here called finished, and we'll hook that back up to the start of this, and let's just see what happens. Okay, so let's get this in here as well. It's a bit cramped, I'm afraid, but there we go. So let's hit play. Okay, so we got our guy. It's automatically flipped over to the listener because it's basically saying, no, I'm not crouched. Okay, he's crouching now though, and it's still on the listener, so it's still enabling us to run, which is no good. So, first of all, we're going to need to add something else to our listener, which is basically it has the bool changed variable. So we've got our bool change again. Has that been added to the bottom? Yes, it has. Good. So the bool variable is crouched again, and then the changed event is finished. Okay. So this may appear like everything is hunky-dory, but it's actually not, and I'll explain why. So he's not crouched, it's gone to the listener, so we can press the right trigger. Brilliant. If I press the B button, press the B button, it's going to go, am I crouched? And it's then going to say, yes, I'm crouched. So it's going to go there, and it's not going to let us press the right button anymore. I'm pressing it now, and it's not letting me run, which is exactly what we want. And when I press B, it detects the bool change and goes back to, am I crouched? And then obviously finds the answer, no, you're not, and then goes to the listener, allowing me to run again. So you'd think, yeah, everything's fine. But look what happens if I'm running and I press the B button. it goes, yes, I'm crouched, but it's still allowing me to press the right trigger. Not only is it allowing me to press the right trigger, but when I take my finger off the right trigger, which I've done now, it's still moving at the accelerated speed. And it's because the float value was already set when it left the listener and went into the yes, I'm crouch. The float value for the right trigger was already set when it left the listener. And that's why I'm able to move at this speed. So we've got to basically put something in the middle to stop that from happening. So I'm going to make another state. And let's call this state let's call this state 0 float right trigger, because I'm just basically trying to describe what this is doing. And in this 0 float right trigger, we're going to need an action. What do I need? It is going to be set float value. That's what I need to do. Set float value. So I just need this under the maths bit, set float value. And the float variable that we want to set is the right trigger press, and the float value is 0. We don't need to do it every frame. It just needs to do this and then leave. So I'm just going to add another transition to this, finished. And I'm going to right click on this and clear transition event, transition target even, sorry. And now I can hook that up to this, and then this, sorry, I've just got to drag this out a little bit just to make it a little bit, so we've got a bit more room. And then I'm going to come out of this and go back to am I crouched. So that should be everything we need. Let's maximize on, well actually not, let's not. We want to view our right trigger run. So as before, it's gone straight to the listener because we're not crouched. I'm going to press B because it's detected a ball change and it's gone through our 0 right trigger and gone to am I crouched and immediately gone to yes, I'm crouched. So I can't press the, so same as before. So, but if I run now and then press B, the float gets reset to 0. I'm still holding the right trigger now, by the way. And if I let go and then try and press again, it stays at 0. So that's exactly the kind of behavior that we want. Well, it's the behavior that I want anyway. But when he crouches, he slows down to his normal walking speed. And in that regard, I suppose it kills 2 birds with 1 stone as well, because now we don't have to worry about his animations for doing a high-speed crouch walk, if you like. We don't have to homogenize those times. So yeah, that's sorted all of that out. I suppose there's one other thing to note. In fact, let's keep this plain. In fact, let's maximize this window so it's a bit more obvious to see. When we walk, we're walking, and if I just abruptly take my thumb off the thumbstick, you'll see that he shakes a little bit, which is quite strange. And there's a reason for that, and we can fix that now. If we go into our, let's drag the game window back up here just so we've got a bit more room. If we go up to our locomotion window, we've got our locomotion, which is walking and running. If we click on our running, we can see we set the idle state here to 0.25, and that's because we were getting that shaken behavior when he was coming out the run, and I think I left it on here for this. So I'm going to set this to 0.25 as well, and hopefully that shouldn't affect anything else. That should fix that problem. Fingers crossed, because I haven't actually tested this, but yeah, his walk is still synced up, which is good. And when I let go, straight to idle. Now you notice that he snaps back quite abruptly, and I'm just wondering whether we can sort that as well. So might have a look at that. That's looking good. These animations are, you know, they're not bad. Not bad at all. So we've got our crouch, we've got our walk and our run. And we've also got our open door script and all of that lot. The only thing that we haven't got now is a decent jump animation. You'll notice that he just sort of is running in and he jump. You know, that looks just well unnatural. So that'll be something to look at. But for now, let's have a look at his snapping out of his animations. Now, I've got a feeling that in the Locomotion, when he comes out of his walk and he goes back to this Locomotion and then comes out of it and bleeds back to his idle state, we've got no exit time, which is what we want. But we do want sort of, I suppose, delay it a little bit. So let's have a look at his character controller. So what is defining what it goes from idle? It is his walking speed. So I'm going to go to his character, go to his walking speed, and we've got his get his axis vector, flow variable, set animator float, and set property. So on the set animator float, you get this. It's a damp time. So I'm just going to play it now, just so we can compare to before and after. So he's walking, I let go, boom, straight back. So if I put a little damp time on there, maybe, on this, let's make it a bit extreme. So I'm going to put 0.1 as a damp time on there and try that. And this should affect actually when you begin walking from idle as well. So you'll notice that, no, maybe not. When I let go, he does snap back, but not as abruptly. In fact, let's make it really extreme. Let's make it like, I don't know, let's make this damp time a second so we can actually see what this is doing. So that should be quite extreme now. Okay, so you can see the damp time when he starts walking. It's damping the value. So we don't obviously want it that much, but when I let go, it's still quite abrupt actually. But I wouldn't say it snaps back as bad as it was. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe just a little bit of damp time on there. That's obviously too much. So we're setting the animator float of the walking speed. And what's the parameters? Greater than 0.1 and less than. Okay, no, that's right. Okay. So the damp time is 1 for that float, and it's every frame. I'm going to say that's 0.05. Something that's quite small. Just to give it a little bit of a transition. On the way back it's pretty abrupt. That's probably more to do with the blend tree actually, not actually going back to the idle state. That probably is more to do with the blend actually. So let's have a look at that. Yeah, because we've got idle in the middle, it is just blending from that to that and then snapping back to the idle. So it's probably got more to do with that, but at least we haven't got that shaking anymore. And it's because these are based on the horizontal or vertical, so not actually the walk speed. So that'll be why it snaps back, because it, you know, the quicker you let go of the axis, the quicker it's going to go back to that thing. So there may be a way that we can actually put a damp on the horizontal or vertical. So this might be where we've got to do that. I should imagine it is actually. So, okay, let's make it mental. Let's make it 1 second for forwards, backwards and strafe. And see what kind of behaviour we get. I bet it's absolutely insane, yeah. So look at that. We've got a real damp time now, and it's only when I've held it down for a second that it actually picks up to what it should be. And when I let go, really slowly returns back to, ooh. Okay, so that's where we can control that behaviour. So What did I give my walking speed? Was it 0? It was 0.05. So let's do the same for forwards and backwards and see what happens. 0.05 for forwards and backwards, and the strafe, we'll give that 0.05 as well. And just see if that makes it a little bit cleaner when we snap back. So he starts off good. Let go. Yes. That's much nicer. Instead of snapping straight back, there's a little bit of a delay. And it's a lot more natural. A human being wouldn't just snap back to his position instantly. It'd break his arms. So this kind of behaviour is a little bit more natural. I'm actually quite happy with that. We might be able to do the same thing with the right trigger as well, because when you let go of that, he kind of snaps back quite abruptly, but I'm quite happy with that behaviour actually. It doesn't look too bad. He does pop back up quite rapidly, but if you wanted it to look a bit smoother, in fact, let's just do it just to see what kind of look we get from that. So right trigger run. Am I crouched? Yeah, so this is the behaviour, blah blah blah. Ball change. Right, okay, so actually his right trigger run is actually the speed is being set in his B button crouch, isn't it? Let's have a look. So animate float, set ball, blah blah blah, all the rest of it. Set animated ball. Okay, that's just for the crouch, that is. In fact, so where does this go then? This is, am I crouched? Yes, I'm crouched. No one cares. Right trigger. Get axes as the ball change. So I'm storing it at a right trigger press. And it's on the character, isn't it? That's what's deciding. It's in the walking speed. So yes. The set property is here, and the set animator float. So we've already actually put a damp on that because the right trigger is talking to the walking speed. So the damp time in that is actually being controlled. So I think that I'm pretty happy with that now. It's rotating round him. There's a few things we need to add, which we're going to do in the next tutorial. We need to sort out a jump. And we also, okay, we're going to sort that out as well. If I jump and then press A while I'm still in the air, as soon as he hits the ground, he jumps again. So we're going to quash that behaviour because I don't like that. If you press A in the air, it should just totally disregard that information and only take input when you're grounded. So we'll have a look at that. And the other thing that I want to do is when he's idle and we turn him like this, he's just spinning on the spot like he's some kind of a lethal ghost or something. So we want a pivot animation so he can pivot when he's idle. I don't think we're going to need one when he's... No, we're not going to need one when he's like this. That would be absolutely fine. And remember, I'm going to shove the camera past his face at some point because this is going to be a first-person setup. But I suppose you can use this for third person. It looks good enough to be used as a third person. In fact, this is perfect. It kind of reminds me of a kind of like a Splinter Cell setup or something like that. Anyway, enough of my waffling. As always, check out the website digitalmeat.uk, Facebook, Twitter. You can look up Digital Meat on them. And okay, until next time, guys. Bye.